Hey guys, it's me again back with another Edmonton Oilers video or Oilers fan reaction. And in today's video, we have a lot to talk about. We have a trade to talk about because the Oilers made a decent trade, like a trade today that I actually enjoyed. Um, a signing that they made a couple days ago that I didn't touch on. And today I also wanted to touch on the topic of being a fan because I saw a tweet on Twitter and a comment on my last video that kind of questioned what kind of fan I am, and I wanted to address that. So first of all, let's talk about the trade. So today, the Edmonton Oilers traded Milan Lucic and a conditional third-round pick in the 2020 NHL entry draft to the Calgary Flames in exchange for James Neal. Now, as I said, I actually like this trade, but not for the reasons why I thought. So let me begin by saying I had no problems with Milan Lucic on the team. I didn't. I liked him on the team from day one. I was very happy when they signed him to that contract in 2016. I have no hatred against Milan Lucic when he was with Edmonton. I didn't have any hatred against him when he was with Boston, and I probably won't have any hatred with him when he's with Calgary. But let me explain why I like this trade, okay? We get James Neal back, basically. That's it. James Neal had a rough go out of it last year. He scored 19 points in 63 games with the Flames. Before that, I think he scored 30 goals, 20 to 30 goals for 10 straight seasons. He was like a very coveted free agent. Calgary nabbed him last year. But he just didn't gel with what Calgary was doing. And, he was scratched in Game 5 versus Colorado, which was the game Calgary got eliminated in. It was time for a change of scenery for both players. And, you know, the only I think the only real reason why I like the Lucic trade is we get rid of his contract. That was it. Yeah, that was it. And you know, James Neal, he's coming to a team with the best center depth in the league. He's coming to a team that has two of the best young stars in the league. He is going to gel in our top six, and yeah, people have been, I think people have gotten the impression that I don't like the job Ken Holland has done, and up until today, I really didn't really like what he done with the player personnel, but in terms of management, I've liked what he's done. I like that he's shuffled around the management a bit. This is the first move as GM with the players that I would consider legitimately good. Now for the downside of the trade. I didn't really talk about the upside. So James Neal, he has the potential to go back to 20 to 30 goals, especially if he's playing with Connor. I mean, Patrick Maroon scored 27 goals with McDavid a couple of years ago in the playoff year. So, Neal has a great chance to rebound here. He's playing with a coach he's familiar with. He's playing with players that are quite frankly better than what Calgary has, especially on the center side of things. Yeah, if Neal can come back and score 20 to 30 goals, excellent trade. Now for the downside of the trade. We're losing Lucic's toughness, and that is something that I think Calgary wanted. One of the things I noticed about the Flames in the playoffs, not just this past playoffs, but the ones before that. When they faced Anaheim in 2017 and they got swept, and then the one in 2014 where they lost in 6 games. The Flames are not a tough team to play against. They have no grit. They have no toughness. Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan disappear as soon as things get rough. And we saw it with the Colorado Avalanche playoffs. We saw it with the playoffs versus Anaheim in the past two times they've faced the Ducks. As soon as things get physical, Gaudreau and Monahan, they're gone. Lucic brings toughness to a team. He is, or was, the deterrent to Edmonton. And he was the guy. He may not have been scoring, which is where the trade probably factored into the most. It wasn't that he wasn't hitting. He was, fifth in the league of hits, I think. He wasn't scoring, and that was the problem. We signed him to this massive contract for a number of reasons, and he just wasn't scoring. That was it. But the toughness he brings to a team cannot be overlooked. There was a game against Tampa this year, or this past season. The Oilers were in Tampa. They did lose that game, unfortunately. But there was one player on Tampa. I believe his name was Matthew Joseph. I know his last name was Joseph. The first name is Enigma, but I think it was Matthew. Anyway, this Joseph character, every shift, he was always running guys over, flattening guys, cheap shotting guys. Like, it got ridiculous. And Lucic was the only person on the team who decided to, knock him down and say, look, you can't do this anymore. We're done. You're done. Cassian didn't step up. Nurse didn't step up. Russell, I think, got injured. I think, if I remember correctly, one of our defensemen, I think, got injured from this guy. Jujhar Khaira didn't step up. Like, all of the tough guys, except for Lucic, didn't do anything. It took Lucic to knock this kid on his ass and basically say, look, you can't do this anymore. Now, of course, Tampa fans had problems with the way he did it. Yada, yada, yada. But that's Lucic in a nutshell. But Lucic was the guy who stepped up and said, enough is enough. That is what I'm going to miss. And, and that's the part I was initially pissed off with this trade about. It's the fact that our deterrent is gone. He's gone now. Now nothing is going to stop a guy from running McDavid into the boards. There was a game, in his first game against Calgary, as a member of the Oilers, one of the guys takes a run at McDavid, and Lucic immediately drops the gloves with him. Not even a second's hesitation, just boom, drops the gloves and fights the guy, and says the message, you cannot fuck with our stars. You are not going to hit this guy. And that worked. If you touched McDavid, Lucic was out there going, you can't do that. So, on the one hand, I really like this trade because we get back James Neal. And it was interesting. We were talking last season, off-season, about potentially getting this guy. Hey, how can we get him? Can we get him? Oh, no, we don't have enough cap space. Well, great. And we found out he's going to Calgary. Oh, great, he's gone to Calgary. Great. But now we have him. He has a great chance to rebound. He has a good chance of potting 25 easily with McDavid. And hell, if he's not playing with McDavid, he can play on the second line with Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl. Like, again, first player move that I would consider legitimately good from Ken Holland. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. Great move by Ken. Absolutely great move by the guy. I like this trade. I'm kind of upset that we're losing our deterrent. And like I said, I've had no problem with Lucic. He can still serve a purpose. It sucks that he's gone, but at the same time, he kind of needed to go. And we get back a player who has a better chance of rebounding, especially now that he's playing with good talent. So, yeah, like I said, excellent trade. Now, let's talk about the signing. So, a couple days ago, the Oilers signed Josh Archibald to a contract. I forget the contract details. I'm completely unprofessional about this. But basically, he's another bottom six guy that is supposed to help our PK. Now, here's the thing. Last season, Archibald played for the Arizona Coyotes. Now, I may be wrong in this, but I believe Arizona finished the season with the best penalty killing percentage in the league. They had the best penalty killing league, I think. If they didn't finish with it, they had it for like most of the season. In fact, I remember there was a game between the Colorado Avalanche and the Arizona Coyotes. And the significance of that game was, at the time, Colorado had the best power play in the NHL, and Arizona had the best penalty kill in the NHL. So, and Archibald was a big contributor of that PK. So, I don't mind it. Again, again, initially I was pissed off because, it's yet another bottom six forward. Whoa, we have so many. But he was a penalty killer, and our penalty kill needs help. It needs help. Our penalty kill sucks. Even in the playoff year, it was below average. It was garbage. Didn't cost us any playoff games. Didn't cost us a series, but it was bad, and it's still bad. And a lot of that has to do with the goalies. I get that, but a big part of that has to do with the fact that our players just can't do it. They can't win a face-off when they need to. They can't clear the puck out when they need to. It was bad. It was very, very bad. And if Josh can come in and pot a couple shorties, but more importantly, help kill the penalties, then yeah, it's a good signing. Again, no problem with it, especially with this trade now. So a couple days ago, I guess I should have said this when I made those videos talking about how we've signed a bunch of bottom six guys. It was basically this trade, waiting for this trade, that made those painful. Now that this trade has happened, they're less painful, and yeah, the team is looking better. I'm not gonna deny it. Right. I still think it could be better. I still think next year is going to be a lost season. I still think, they've made a mistake in hiring, Holland the way they did. It's not even the fact that they hired Holland. It's the fact that they lied to us about it. That's what really set me off. At the end of the year, Bob Nicholson's like, we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to interview candidates. And as soon as Ken Holland becomes available, you're hired. No interview, you're hired. Yeah, we're going to repeat with Shirelli, but yeah, you're hired. Good guy, right? So, those two out of the way, let's talk about being a fan. So, I saw this on Twitter this morning, and and it really irritated me. This is a tweet from a guy by the name of Jason Zero at My Gnarly Beard. And he asked a question, and he said, how can any of you call yourselves Oiler fans if you're not putting faith into the team? Or something along those lines. And this one really kind of set me off because, first of all, you're questioning how we are being fans. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. Actually, let me make a number of things perfectly clear. Let me make one thing perfectly clear, though. Just because I'm critical of the team does not mean I am not a fan. I want to make that absolutely clear. I may be critical, but I'm also a fan. Now, I'd like to respond to that tweet with my own question, which I did. Why should I put faith in something that has not rewarded my faith? Again, for those of you who are keeping score at home, it has been 14 years since the 2005 lockout, the full season lockout. 14 years. I don't know that's 5, but 14. In those 14 years, the Oilers have made the playoffs twice. 2 times. 1, 2. 2. Duh. 2. Why should I put faith in that? Is it because this is a new regime? Is that because they've made promises? Is it because we have Connor McDavid? No. Why should I put faith in a team that can't make the playoffs on a consistent basis? If we were talking about Toronto or Chicago or Pittsburgh or Washington or St. Louis or any of these teams that consistently make the playoffs yet can't win a Stanley Cup, then I'd be singing a different tune. Then I would go, you know what? I agree with that. I agree. Why do you have to be constantly negative with a team that actually at least makes the playoffs? No. Our team can't consistently make the playoffs. They've made the playoffs twice in the years that I've been a fan. So why should I put faith in them? Why? Why do I have to put faith in a team, or rather in a management group, that can't seem to get their heads out of their asses? Why? Now, let's go to the other thing I saw. So, someone put a comment on my second episode, saying basically, look, I didn't watch it. I didn't need to. You're the kind of fan that makes me sick. What kind of fan are you talking about? Are you talking about the fan that incessantly whines about everything? Are you talking about the fan that, I guess that's what he's actually referring to. The kind of fan that just whines about everything. They can do no right. Every move is critical. I may be overcritical, but that's because I care. That is because I genuinely care about this team. I care for the well-being of this team. I want this team to be successful. Do you think I want them to make the playoff, to be stuck in mediocrity? No! I want them to be successful. I want them to make smart moves and be the team that, I see others being. But just because I'm critical, and again, because I'm critical, it doesn't mean I'm not a fan. It means I care. If I didn't care, I would blindly accept all of these moves. If I didn't care, I'd be totally okay with them signing 5 or 6 bottom 6 forwards. I would totally be okay with them passing over 3 or 4 solid forwards in favor of defensemen at the draft. I would be totally okay with them making the playoffs twice in 14 years, because if I didn't care, then it would be all part of the process. But it's not. I know it's not part of the process because other teams have done more in less time. Vegas are better than the Oilers, and they've only been around for 2 seasons. Edmonton has been around since 1972. Since the Oilers have been around since 1972, not in the NHL, but as a hockey club, the Edmonton Oilers have been around since 1972. Yes, they have 5 Stanley Cups to their name. Yes, they have, for the longest time, they were one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. Yes, they were voted the best team in the history of the NHL. But that was years ago. Now, they stink. They suck. They have been the worst run organization in sports. Rivaled probably only by the Cleveland Browns. And I'm only saying that because I've seen other people say it, because I don't know the first thing about football. I know the first thing about hockey, which is why I'm so critical of the team. If I didn't know enough about hockey, again, blindly accept it. Blindly accept it. Like I did when I first started out as a fan of hockey. I didn't care about things like the Stanley Cup or the playoffs. I didn't even know those existed. I just thought, hey, they played hockey for fun. I didn't realize they get paid for that crap. For that. But as I've grown older, as I've gotten more invested into the different aspects of the sport, I've come to realize that 2 playoff appearances in the last 14 years is unacceptable. It is completely unacceptable. And the only reason I'm like this is because I care. to take a page out of Steve Dangle's book. Not literally, because he did write a book. Not literal book, but his YouTube channel. When he did his LFR for the Game 7 loss to the Boston Bruins in this past playoffs, they lost 5-1, he made a point about saying if he didn't care, then he would just blindly accept that loss as just as it is, another loss. He doesn't care. Why should he care? It's just another loss. But he does care about that team. That's why he was so mad about it. Any other fan who doesn't care would just go, well, it's just, it happens. It's all part of the process. But because he cares, he recognizes that losing 5-1 in a Game 7 is unacceptable. Just like I, as a fan who cares about this team, recognizes that making the playoffs twice in 14 years is completely unacceptable. I'm not being whiny for views or because it's my personality. I am being whiny because I care. I want to see this team succeed. I want to see them be successful. And every time I give them a chance to do that, they spit in my face by doing something stupid. Like trading Jordan Eberle for supposed cap space and then using that cap space to sign Chris Russell to a contract. Like buying out our third best defenseman in Andre Sekera and then using that cap space to sign yet another bottom six forward. Like, blatantly ignoring the fact that you have 4 forwards, decent forwards, available to take at the draft, and you go, nah, we're going to take a defenseman that might not even be ready for 5 years. I care about this team, and that's why I'm critical. That is why I criticize. That is why I question everything. That is why I go, hold on a second, is this really smart for the team? I'm not pretending to be an armchair GM. I would be a terrible GM. I recognize that. When I play NHL 19 or 18 or 17 or whatever game it is, and I'm playing GM mode, I stick with the roster that I'm given because I can't get rid of players. I feel bad. I care about the team. That is why I'm critical. That is why I just don't sit here and go, yeah, I accept it. It's all part of the process. I don't do that because I care. If I didn't care, believe me, I wouldn't be making these videos talking about what I've been talking about. I wouldn't be on Twitter going, are you sure this is really the good thing to do, or are you just being stupid? I wouldn't go 2 playoff appearances in 14 years is unacceptable. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be saying anything except, you guys are awesome. You keep doing what you're doing. That is what would happen if I didn't care. But I do care. I do care about this team, and that's why I do what I do. It's not about being overly whiny. It's not about being that fan that always complains. No. It is about caring because I want what's best for the team. So, I really hope I cleared that up. I am not being whiny just to be whiny. I am not being whiny for views. I am not being whiny because it's easier to be whiny than it is to be positive. I am being whiny because I care about the Edmonton Oilers, because I care about winning, because I care about the fact that we have a young superstar named Connor McDavid who has had 2 of his 4 years in the NHL wasted by this team. And again, I believe I mentioned this in the last couple episodes. If you think that the rookie season of McDavid was wasting him, you are dead wrong. First of all, he was injured for more than half of it. Actually, less than half of it. It was 37. Yeah, he was injured for less than half the season. He missed 37 games. And that team was not even close to being playoff ready. If you think that team was making the playoffs, I'd love to have what you're smoking. But no. The last 2 seasons have been wasting Connor McDavid's talents, and that is a thing to care about. If I didn't care, I wouldn't bring that up. If I didn't care, I just go, meh, whatever. It happens. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So I hope I cleared that up. I really legitimately hope I cleared that up. Because I'm sorry, but I'm not going to just sit here and accept whatever this team does. I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, it's all part of the process. If they trade Connor McDavid, because they're not. Well, they're not. If they do, they're stupid, but I'm not. Just because I'm critical does not mean I'm not a fan. I am a fan of this team. I am a supporter, and I do care about what this management group does. Because if I don't, then what's the point in being a fan? You're just being a fan for the sake of being a fan. And that goes for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone should criticize the team. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that there are people who are going to be critical of this team. But those people are fans. There's a difference between being a critical fan and being a hater of the team. Other fan bases fall into the hater category. Fans who are critical fall into fans of the team. There's a difference. I am the kind of guy who cares deeply. And yeah, I do see problems, and I will call them out on it, but that doesn't mean I'm not a fan. And I needed to make that distinction. So, Jason, 0. To answer your question, no, I'm not putting faith in this team because they have not given me a reason to put faith in this team. But I'm still a fan. It just means I am not going in with any expectations. I'm not going in with the hope that they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not going in with the expectation that they're going to knock it out of the park. I did that once. And I was surprised. I did that many times, and I was surprised once. And then the year after they surprise me, I go in with the expectations that they'll make the playoffs, that they'll knock it out of the park. And they reward me with shit. Garbage. So no, I'm not putting faith in them. But I'm still a fan. I'm just a fan who cares. And because I care, I'm being cautious. And I needed to make that distinction. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Click like if you guys liked the video. All of that jazz. To recap, I guess, I like the Lucic for Neal trade. I like the Josh Archibald signing, especially now that this trade was made. And I'm a fan who cares. And that's why I criticize the team. Because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't criticize. But I care, and therefore I do. Criticize. So, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in episode 4. Bye.